Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome to another price-based top 10 roundup video. I love making these videos. They're probably my favorite type of all the videos I make. If you're not already a subscriber of the channel and you also love a price-based roundup video, there is a large button with the word subscribe on it that will grant you access to many more. Today it's my top 10 GMTs under $500 US. Now, GMT watches have had a real moment over the last couple of years, thanks primarily to the release of a pair of affordable big brand Japanese automatic GMT calibers. And indeed, 7 out of the 10 choices on today's list use either one or other of those two calibers. I will leave links to all 10 watches in the order that I show them in the description of the video. Use them as your starting point, but obviously find the best deals you possibly can for wherever in the world that you are. All right, enough waffle, let's get on with it. One watch that will not be featuring on today's list is my own offering in this category, the Erebus Origin GMT. It would be completely immoral of me to use this platform to endlessly promote my own brand of watches and to tell you that all 8 versions of the Origin GMT are now back in stock and available for immediate dispatch, including the super popular and previously sold out Polar and Cola premium models, both featuring a fully loomed sandblasted bi-coloured ceramic bezel insert, which you will not find on anything else on this list or anything else at its price point. I will definitely not let you know that we've rolled back prices to the original pre-order price and that these currently start at only $349 US plus shipping. And I will not, I repeat, I will not be leaving a link to the erebuswatches.com website in the description of the video. On to the official first watch then. And in some ways, this watch was the one that kick-started the whole GMT craze a few years ago because it was the first watch to feature Seiko's 4R34 caliber. It is, of course, then the Seiko SSK. Now, if this watch looks familiar, it probably should. It's based on the 5KX, which in turn is based on the SKX, a watch that enjoyed a 20+ year production run that only ended in 2018. As such, the Seiko GMT has a lot of the same qualities as its ancestors, including a beautiful, comfortable and wearable case that will fit wrists much smaller than the diameter dimensions suggest. Being a dive style watch, it also has great legibility both during the day and after dark. Now, the 4R34 movement is a collar GMT, so you can decide whether that's a factor for you or not. The Jubilee bracelet is a big step forward from Seiko's normal fare at this price point, and the bi-colour mineral bezel insert gives a really interesting effect. Complaints include the fact that it's only dive style rather than a true dive watch with only 100 meters of water resistance and without a screw down crown. And my biggest personal complaint with affordable Seikos is the fact that that is mineral crystal and not sapphire crystal. But hey, they are not massively expensive. Because this is no longer a new model, you can pick these up in a bunch of different colours for under $300 US, which is a great price for a big brand Japanese automatic GMT, is it not? But what if I told you that you could get a big brand automatic Swiss GMT and still be comfortably under today's budget? You'd say I was mad. And you wouldn't be wrong, but we'd both be right, because you can. You can pick up a Glycine Combat Sub GMT from a grey market retailer for under $400 US. Now, you don't get a lot of choice in terms of colour, but you know what they say about beggars, don't you? And you would be a lucky beggar to grab one of these for under 400 bucks. I've included various versions of the Combat Sub in so many of these price-based videos because it is just ridiculously good value. Swiss made, sapphire crystal, 200 meters of water resistance, screw down crown, all stainless construction. Now, it's a full-size watch at 42mm, but it wears very nicely because it's slim. What Glycine calls a caliber GL293 is actually a rebadged ETA 2893, a movement that is much slimmer than the Seiko 4R34 in the SSK that we just looked at. Really, the only downsides here are limited choice and availability and a fairly basic flat handset. and fairly basic aluminium bezel insert. It offers an awful lot for your money though, but there are a couple of telltales of how they are able to do all of this for that price. Alright, watch number 3 is a watch that I have in my personal collection. Again, you need to be open to taking whatever colour is available at any given time, but it's another watch that is just ridiculously good value. It's the Islander Port Jefferson. Islander is the in-house brand of Long Island watch owned by fellow YouTuber Mark Franco. I picked up one of these for myself when I was in New York, and I met him in New York last year. He currently has one version, the white dial, on special at $399 US. For that you get a really solid all-rounder. It's an interesting design, good use of colour, beads of rice bracelet, and it's not a Seiko movement in the back. It's a Miyota 9075. Unlike the Seiko, this one is a traveller / true GMT. It's also a 4Hz movement, so it has a smoother sweep to the second hand. That is great if you are doing a lot of travelling, but it's not so great if you only wear the watch one day a month because it doesn't have a quick set date. They are more complicated movements to make though, and as such they are more expensive movements. Watches containing these are only just beginning to creep into the sub $600 US or less price bracket, but of course Mark is selling one for under $400. If I'm going to nitpick, it is quite big and chunky, which won't suit everyone, and again, like the Glycine, you can kind of spot the areas where dollars have been saved quite easily. In this case, the clasp is pretty basic without any on-the-fly adjustability, but for under $400 with a 9075 in the back, who really cares? At number 4, we have the second Seiko on the list today. It's the Seiko SSK. Hang on a minute. Was the Seiko SSK not the first watch on today's list? Yes, it was. But this is also called the Seiko SSK? Yes, it is. So 2 totally different watches with the same 3-letter production code. Yep. Thanks for nothing, Seiko. Yes, indeed, despite the fact that there are 26 letters to the English alphabet, Seiko decided to use the same 3 letters for 2 totally different Seiko 5 GMTs. This Seiko SSK, however, is not a dive style watch, it's a field style watch based on their old SNZG and SNK ranges of previous years. They launched this one at the beginning of 2024, a couple of years after the other one. A couple of different versions are available. I bought the stealthy black one at the time, the SSC 025. They also offer the SSC 023 with stainless bezel and bracelet. It's the same movement, the 4R34, and has pretty much the same pros and cons list as its dive watch cousin. It also has pretty much the same price tag as well. These can be readily scooped up for under $300 on Amazon or eBay. Next up, we have one of San Martin's best models, the SN0129 GMT. I've had hands-on experience with I think effectively 9 out of the 10 watches on today's list. The San Martin has the best finishing of any of them. They really do look so much more expensive than the modest price tags would suggest. Talking of which, prices on these start at around $275 for one of the wave dials. I've got the red agate mineral dial here for just over $300, and you're tapping out at around $350 for an aventurine dial version. I mean, I often ask, what do you think? Do you think this looks like a $300 watch? I mean, it does to me now because I'm used to the brand, but San Martin just completely reframed my expectations of just how good a watch can be finished for this amount of money. If I'm going to nitpick, and of course I am, a colour match date wheel at 6 would have been a much nicer look than a non-colour match date wheel at 3, and I've never been convinced about the balance between the hands, particularly the literal counterbalance on the second hand. And the 129 is a little bit chunky, it's not quite as elegant as some of their other designs. Plus San Martin doesn't quite have the cachet of Seiko or Glycine. But if you're okay with that and you want the best finished watch on today's list, you can stop here because you found it. Now, all of these fancy highfalutin automatic calibers are all well and good, but what if you just can't be arsed with the whole setting and winding process every time you want to wear the watch? What if you just want a simple grab and go quartz GMT from a big and well respected affordable watch brand? Enter the Timex Q GMT. Now, I gotta be honest with you, compared to the San Martin that you just saw, the Timex doesn't exactly feel like it was hewn from a piece of solid granite, put it that way. This is effectively a one-for-one 70s reissue, and it has retained the looks, the charm, and the build quality of a watch from the 1970s. And you know, that's okay as long as you know what you're buying. It's light, it is so easy to wear therefore, and it features acrylic crystal covering the dial, a very conscious aesthetic choice. Acrylic crystal gives you a lovely, soft, warm glow just before you scratch it. But at least when you scratch it, you can polish those scratches out again, something you cannot do with the Seiko mineral crystals that I've been moaning about previously. These feature a tool-free battery hatch on the back. It really couldn't be any easier. Therefore, they are effectively maintenance-free and virtually cost-free over the course of their entire lifetime. That is another real plus, both for convenience and for economy. Talking of which, these can now be found at a lower price point than just about any other watch on the list today, well under $200 US. Now, there are a couple of rubber strap options and a couple of bracelet options, so not only is it affordable, but you also get plenty of choice. Alright, next up is the second watch that features the Miyota 9075 caliber. That was the Japanese 4Hz true GMT movement, if you've forgotten already. That watch is the Bulova Wilton. And just like the first Seiko SSK that we saw, this was the watch that launched the caliber. This was the first officially available model to feature the Miyota 9075. That's because Bulova are part of the Citizen group, and Citizen also own Miyota. The Wilton is traditionally styled, featuring Roman numerals and a world map on the dial, as well as sharp Dauphine hands. There are a couple of different colour versions. It's available either with a blue dial in a stainless steel case or white dial with a gold coated case. Or should that be gold look coated case? You're not getting actual gold for the money here, I'm afraid. Joma Shop seems to be the place to go for the best deal on these. $450 for the blue dial, but only $420 if you're into gold. Now, the looks may be traditional, but the sizing, well, it's traditional Bulova, meaning it's perhaps a little bit bigger than one might have expected. These are 43mm in diameter, and that is actually quite a lot for this style of watch because there's so much dial here. And with only 30 meters of water resistance, you need to tread carefully if you happen to be treading close to water. These have come right down in price. They were double that price when they launched. And if you have the wrist for it, that means they represent pretty good buying in 2025. At number 8, it is the best value micro-brand GMT that I've seen so far. Or at least that's the quote on their website, so I guess I must have said that at some stage. It's by Malaysian micro-brand Revelot, and it's called the R10 Admiral. And yes, it does offer cracking value for money if you want a four-handed micro-brand watch. Revelot sit in a space above AliExpress, but below where a lot of micros sit. Their styling is always 11 out of 10 though, no holds barred, kitchen sink style, which I appreciate might not be to everyone's taste. This one, bit too much for me if I'm being honest. But if you like the look, then you'll like the price as well. These start at just over $350 on a rubber strap, a little more than that if you opt for a bracelet. The watch itself is chunky and angular but still wearable. In fact, the whole watch is full of angles. It was inspired by a stealth boat, and you can see that shape, the shape of the boat replicated on the two main hands and elsewhere across the watch. Plus there is a stack of lume, so it's 11 out of 10 after dark as well. At number 9, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but this is my video, so what are you going to do? If you just want to dip your toe into the GMT waters, or you want to spend as little money as possible, there are literally hundreds of options for you now on AliExpress from about $70 and upwards. For example, I bought this sterile Tandorio Grand Seiko homage made of titanium no less, with sapphire crystal and a decent leather strap, and I paid $75 for it. And there are dozens of Paganis and Addies dives and Steel dives and Miltados and Baltonis and so on and so forth, all offering a broadly similar set of specifications for not a lot of cash. There are straight up copycats, one-for-one lookalikes of expensive luxury watches without the expensive price tags though, and occasionally there are more original designs, although they do tend to be a bit of a rarity at the $100 mark. So most of these watches lack originality and brand identity. You're pretty much leaving that at the door when you enter the wonderful world of AliExpress at this price point anyway. But what they do feature is exactly the same Seiko movement that you've already seen a couple of times today, and sapphire crystal. And as long as you can find those two elements on the spec list and you're not paying more than $100 say, you have my permission to purchase whatever you like. And finally at number 10, I always try to save something a little bit different for the very end, and indeed it's the third Seiko on today's list. So not all that different really. But in a piece of stunningly good news that will come as a relief to everyone, they found some different letters. They didn't call this one the SSK, they called it the SFK. This one is colloquially known as the Sumo GMT, which gives you an idea about its overall dimensions, does it not? This is the biggest entry on today's list at 44mm in diameter and with a lug-to-lug of 50mm. So make sure you have the wrist for it, or at least you have the eye for a big watch on your small wrist. A couple of things with this one. You do get sapphire crystal, unlike the two other Seikos, but also unlike the two other Seikos, this one is quartz. Moreover, it's solar quartz, so no battery changes, assuming you do leave your basement occasionally and see some sunlight. It is, however, right at the upper limits of our budget today and encroaching on our 10% margin. $520 is the best price I could do for this one on eBay. If you shop around though, this is a watch that you can quite often find in a high street retailer because they're often stocked in high street retailers and then heavily discounted at sale time. A solid choice then in every sense of the word. So there you have it. I simply could not have made this video in 2018 or even 2019. There simply weren't enough affordable GMTs, high quality affordable GMTs on the market at that time. Those two new calibers, the Miyota and particularly the Seiko, have done wonders for democratizing the mechanical GMT to the point where it's now every bit as affordable as a regular three-handed automatic watch. Do you need one? Maybe not. Does that matter? Probably not. When there's no price premium associated with the complication, the choice becomes as much about aesthetics as it is about utility. What did you think of my list today then? I reckon the best made is the San Martin, the best value is the Glycine, and the best all-rounder is the Seiko SSK. But which one? Well done for making it all the way to the end of the video. Why not check out separate reviews of both Seiko SSKs and then decide for yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next one.